Hello, and welcome back to another amazing episode of Dénht'ā. Hi, how are you? For the people that are newly checking in, Dénht'ā in my Kaska language means hi, how are you? So I figured it very appropriate because I am here talking with a bunch of amazing Indigenous people that I get the pleasure of meeting and getting to know, and in this case, perform with. So welcome to the podcast, Dénht'ā, Eddi Licious.
Thanks. So good to be here.
Yay! Do you want to tell a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Eddi Licious in drag, Eddi Wilson out of drag. I'm a Two Spirit Métis performance artist who does a lot of different things, emceeing, hosting, dance and theater and drag performances. I've been on stages for about almost 17 years, about since 2005. I'm a member of the Métis community. My family name is Houle, so I'm a descendant from the Houle clan who's from the Paddle Prairie Métis settlement. Currently, a lot of my relatives live out that way. We originated from the Red River before the Western Displacement of Canada, but I moved out to Wasanich and Sitcom territory when I was really young to live with a smaller portion of my family and was raised out there. So yeah, I've been just kind of living on the island, the Kwangin territory currently, otherwise known as Victoria, and just, yeah. Been having a pretty good time these days with all the cool events happening and post-COVID resurgence of the arts, you know.
For sure, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. So you mentioned a lot of your performance, and that's where I got to get to know you first too. And we just did this amazing Two Spirit showcase in Fort McMurray, which is so cool. I have a really good question. Culture, identity, does that influence your art?
Hugely, yes, yes. It's always been kind of in the background of my art, and then in probably the last 10 years or so, I've been feeling a lot more emboldened and empowered to really put it more directly in my performances. I go back and forth a bit between some more thoughtful, deeper sort of performance art kind of things and some campier kind of characters and just silly drag, like fun stuff. But Eddi Licious has always got a bit of that like kind of influence from my family members in there. Definitely a lot of influence from their senses of humor and some of the style choices and things. I know my grandma's definitely her little silly like dirty jokes and stuff are definitely like in the back of my mind always. But also in a broader sense, I do like to incorporate some of the styles and the adornments and things, because I also just think it's really beautiful and meaningful to me, and kind of just like makes me feel more empowered on stage to represent not only myself but kind of my family as well. Yeah.
For sure, right? Having that influence there makes you feel a little closer to culture at times, especially in this world now that we're living where indigeneity is having its resurgence, which is weird to say in Canada because we were here first, but to be like, we're having a resurgence kind of has like a little bit of a weird undertone, but it's true. And I sometimes get tired of talking about indigeneity a lot of times with people because I'm like, there's so much resources out there for you to do it yourself. So I find if I can incorporate bits into my performances or have little bits of adornments like you mentioned, it opens up that conversation for them to have it with someone else hopefully and not always with yourself.
Exactly, yeah, there's so much information coming at us, like just in general, like that fire hose of social media, news and stuff, but also where we're at in Canada right now with Truth and Reconciliation. I think a lot of people are getting already fatigued a bit about like you need to do better, you need to learn this, you need to step it up, you need to like, and that's true, but what we can kind of do as drag people or performance artists is just subliminally like keep that message alive that we're, you know, still this, we're not a part of history, we're still very much living, breathing, feeling people.
We're not extinct.
Yeah, and you can ask questions, you know, and you know, you're so great at, you know, like the laughter thing, like I think that really opens people up. Your humor and stuff really opens people up to learning. Because people don't want to, like they clam up when they feel like they're in trouble.
It's true.
You know?
And then I say something a little abrasive and then they're like, ooh, but then I laugh afterwards and like, it's okay.
We can all kind of just have a conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good, yeah. I'd like to lead by my imperfectionism as well, you know?
Yeah.
It makes people comfortable. They're like, I could do that.
Makes them feel relaxed.
Yeah.
Right, my thing is that I try to make them feel like they're a part of the joke instead of the butt of the joke, because instantly when you do that, they put their hackles up. 100%. But if you can laugh at them, it's also like a self-deprecating joke in there as well. And then they're like, oh, she's laughing at herself too, I guess we can.
Yes, yes, we're allowed to be imperfect, all of us. That goes for everybody, you know? It's about sort of just finding that way that we can kind of get along again, you know?
Yes, and I feel like performance is a great way to do that. Like you said, leaves the door open, lets conversation happening. But then you mentioned something earlier that I thought was great about like conversations, and then it made me think of land acknowledgements. before shows. I love that they came into being, which is fantastic, because when they started years and years ago, I remember doing it for the first time in Kelowna. And then this white person came up to me and it's like, why are you doing that? That made me uncomfortable. And I was like, that's why we're doing it. But I also feel now, a lot of the times, it's performative.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, I do see a lot of them that it does seem like the person is a little bit just kind of reading off a script or kind of going into autopilot. Yeah. And what I like to see is just, you could say less and give a little bit more if you personalize it a little bit or show how it's meaningful to you. And I personally love doing land acknowledgements because there's always something current going on that you can kind of be like, just a piece of this to remind people, yes, there is actionable stuff we can do, even if it's just giving our attention and our time and our energy. Just like, you don't have to donate always, you don't have to always be writing angry letters. But yeah, I get a lot of Indigenous people coming up to me and thanking me specifically for my land acknowledgements because they're like, oh, yes, like you said it in a way that it actually means something. Because my friends are feeling that too, that it's getting a little scripted.
It is, and it gets to the point where it just feels like, oh, but this is what we do at the beginning of the show. Be like, but why are we doing it at the beginning of the show? Exactly. I always tell people they should have like a course of action or a point of action behind it. You don't have to donate. You can read the Truth and Reconciliation. Like, it's readily available. For people to say they can't find it, that's a lie. So yeah, I feel like it needs to be said, but it needs to be said with a purpose. Otherwise, it's just performative, and we all hate performative activism. I also forgot what I was going to say there for a moment.
But yeah, and then also the tone, though. I was going to say too, like Brianna Bear in Victoria. Have you ever seen her do a land acknowledgement? Just on point. I mean, she's local to the area. She's Lekwungen, and she just, has a way of welcoming people, but also giving them that inspiration to just do better without saying that. We're not like, be better, do better. But highly recommend her. I'm very inspired by the way she does it, because it is also, it's part of a protocol that is in our ancestry and that we would do as a way to identify ourselves and welcome people. So it's a little bit confusing when you have a white person standing up there, or a settler of any kind, who's like, you are bad, and I'm like, whoa, how did it become this? Like, we do need to be serious and tackle issues, but right before a show, like, I mean, it can. You're
setting the mood.
Yeah. The cognitive dissonance can be a little bit like jarring sometimes when they're
definitely
not handled carefully, I guess.
That reminds me of there's some performers that I know, I'm not going to say names, that they're European. European descent, but they do a land acknowledgement. It comes off so aggressive and shame, and it's like, I appreciate you sticking up for indigeneity. It's like, but you're intense.
I kind of shut down, or I dissociate through that, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not, I feel bad about myself right now, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm Métis, I shouldn't feel like, that
like
my European side or my French side is necessarily like, in trouble. I don't know. I just keep saying in trouble, but I'm like, it's like the person who doesn't have the authority to do that, taking the authority and being aggressive about it is quite jarring. So I'd like to see a little of editing done, or maybe
Definitely.
we can, I don't know, maybe we can help with that somehow.
It's like, how can we soften you a little bit?
And there are resources, like there are like land acknowledgement 101 courses you can take, so I'm glad that's
literally written by a white person. No, just kidding.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully
I
not,
don't know.
exactly.
God.
I got to listen to your conversation last night, or 2 nights ago, at the Two Spirit conversation, and I wanted to talk to you about culture specifically, because I've had a lot of Métis people on here, and a lot of them had the same story of that they were disconnected from their culture because they had that shame growing up, which happened in the 80s and 90s. But you said that you had a good connection to culture.
Yes, I was really lucky that way. I mean, of course, there is the whole the generational memory of that kind of the divide between claiming your culture and embracing that and having to deal with the issues that surround it and the discrimination, or abandoning your culture for safety, because a lot of us are white presenting, we're very fair skinned, and it's just such a lose-lose scenario. So I really feel really bad for people that that didn't feel safe and able to explore that in their formative years. That was not the situation with me. I grew up in like a really, my family was very involved in the Métis community, so I was from a young age kind of taught, you know, traditional things and traditional ways of being from my grandmother, and we participated a lot in the local community, so it was so cool to get to go to potlucks and stuff, and just like jig and like do like the fun dances and stuff. So yeah, it really saddens me to hear like that's not everybody's experience, but obviously no surprise there. My aunt was really just, she's a very cool person, very strong person, and was really encouraged my grandma to embrace it. And I think ultimately that helped her get over some of her alcoholism issues and her trauma and stuff by embracing that. So yeah, by the time I came along, it was just like, just a very comforting kind of upbringing. Everybody was fairly comfortable with how we presented and identified, and had already found the community. So yeah, very grateful for that. I've always had a really strong sense of who I am and like who my people are. Yeah.
Nice, that's amazing.
Yeah, I want that for everybody.
Yeah, I want that for everyone. Because you made a good point here about, you're talking about the person in your life that connected with culture and that helped them through the alcoholism. I don't know if you've seen this, but I have as well, like other people in my life that are around my age or maybe younger, as soon as they start connecting with culture, like the alcohol abuse tends to start shifting out. And then soon, like cigarettes I find as well. It's like wild how connecting with your culture can be so healing.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't see that, but as soon as they start embracing it, they're like, huh, like I don't need all these other stimulants or depressants.
Yeah, you stop running away from yourself. Like I heard, I don't know who said it, somebody said it's called spirits because it steals your spirit, you know? And I'm not perfect, I will indulge, and I'm definitely, you know, into the tobacco and things. But yeah, when you start to look at it more as a conscious thing that you're doing, and relating it to what you want to see for yourself and how you want to see your personal growth, and as especially as you start to get older. And now I'm like reaching mentor status in some of my communities. Woo, much to my surprise already. But
I think you already are.
I know. Hi, old. That's me.
Hi.
I've seen some really beautiful things come from just like stopping running away from yourself.
Yeah, and just embracing it.
Yeah, alcohol's really good at helping us do that, and it's not the best.
And like, I'm not saying anything against alcohol. Like, everything in moderation is fine.
Sure, it's the motivation for it, though. There's
exactly. It changes it, especially if you're using it to mask or to hide. And it's never the greatest. Yeah, I just find culture can be so healing. Like with myself, I stayed away from culture for so long because I was embarrassed with it. And when I think back at those are the times that I've had the most drug and alcohol abuse in my life. And then when I came like good with myself and got rid of some toxic people out of my life, I was like, huh, what do you know? I don't need to mask anything anymore.
Yeah, that's really the goal.
It is. All right, let's get back to you and your culture.
Okay.
Growing up in culture, growing up in potlucks, which is pretty cool. Do you have any like amazing memories that you of like powwows?
This one time we went up, it was in the winter, and we went up to meet up with a family that was from the Dénht'ā Nation, I want to say. I was really little at the time, but I have such a vivid memory of it. We went and walked through the snow and went into a sweat lodge and it was so, I was just in awe. I was definitely overwhelmed. I wasn't prepared for, you know, how you feel like after being in there for a while and being so young. I didn't really understand what I was supposed to be feeling, except that I just felt completely open. And once I kind of got over the panic of like, oh, I'm so hot, like I don't know if this is okay, because I didn't really, you know, I was just there to experience it I was sitting with my mom. And I got to watch my mom and grandma and observe how they were in it, and seeing them just completely at peace and rest, but also this, I can't even really explain it. They just seemed so in the moment. And I had a really, you know, like fun, chaotic upbringing, but like seeing those moments of stillness in them was just like, I can still vividly picture it in my mind. And I think that really changed the way I looked at them more as human beings with their own lives, versus these people that just played this role to take care of me. Like seeing them care for themselves in that way was like mind-blowing. And I think I was probably 7 or 8 or something. Nice. And
it's a good lesson to have, right? Seeing that you can take care of yourself and you don't always need someone there.
Yeah, and that they have the right to do that too. They're not just there to make sure I don't hurt myself or whatever, they deserve that too. And then just the beautiful, like all us walking back in the snow barefoot after, and like the steam coming off of us. And that's one of my comfort memories.
Amazing.
For sure. Yeah.
Do you get to partake in sweat lodges still? Do they have any around Victoria?
I don't. I haven't lately. There was some initiative to do like there was some initiative to do that's sort of like a pop-up one, but I don't really know what happened with that. I can't speak to that for.
Well, if you're ever in Kelowna again, this elder does them every Thursday.
Yeah.
And it's open. We just need to bring food so we all eat together afterwards. But with yours, because you grew up outside of Manitoba? Sorry, where did you grow up?
I ended up, we moved to Victoria area, or Sachem.
I meant like where you did your sweat lodge.
Oh, no, that was on the island.
That was on the island?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's ask a question with that, because I always like the different protocols and how they do it. Are they, because here, not here, sorry, we're in Fort McMurray at the moment, but in Kelowna, the sweat lodge, it's very dark. It's black in there, and then there's a pit in the middle with the 7 grandfathers, and then they're lava rocks because they retain the heat for so long. Mm-hmm. And then you go in according to gender, so it would be males first, Two Spirit if they want it, and then females here, because males go in first, make sure it's fine, females get to leave first, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So how was this kind of same
setup?
That
was the same, yeah. From my memory, definitely exactly the same. It was all a cover. There was no light. Yeah. When I walked up to it, I was a little intimidated as a kid, because I, again, was just like along for the experience. Yeah. And so it was like this, it was covered in a black, either I think fabric or plastic. And when we went inside, I was shocked at how dark it was. But then once your eyes adjust, you can kind of see the shapes outlines and like the outlines and like the sweat rolling off somebody. It's quite amazing.
And it's warm.
Very warm.
We weren't allowed to say hot.
No.
It gets, because it's so airtight how they weave things together and put the blankets on top with like plastic as they have it. And it's stifling almost. Yes. And you really have to learn to breathe through it, because sometimes, I don't know if they do this in theirs as well, but they have moments of talking in there where the leader, the head person, the elder will do talking or say some words of wisdom. But if people felt like they wanted to share, they can in it. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes the sharing took so long, and the elder's just constantly pouring that water on those rocks. Yeah. And I'm just like, I really love that you're telling your story, but I need to get out.
Yes, very similar experience. Yeah, there wasn't a ton of talking. There was one elder that I think led it mostly. Very few words were spoken, but same thing, the lava rocks, every time the steam would hit, it's like, okay.
Yeah. Just like a wave that hits you.
I'm going deep. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I love a good sweat lodge. I feel like I should do it again. It's been a bit.
It's been too long for me, honestly,
Do you do any other ceremony in your life?
I burn sage for myself. I smudge myself quite as a grounding activity. It's part of my self-care. Yeah. I like to burn my sweetgrass and say my little prayers, burn my sage, and do that. It's just a personal self-care thing. I have smudged friends when they asked and things like that. I'm always happy to do that and spend time and hold space for people. So mostly like on my own a little bit. It's kind of a personal thing. And I didn't realize I did this, but I do tend to call on my ancestors and my family members that have passed when I'm getting ready for kind of a more important show or a more intentional performance piece. That was a cool realization to realize I still do that subconsciously. And then
I feel like it adds clarity sometimes, because I've done the same thing as well, and I find that those shows are the ones where I speak more eloquently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Spirit's with you. I know, exactly. It works. It's I know. Mm-hmm. I feel I'm always so apologetic. I'm like, oh, I'm so woo-woo, I'm so hippie, and I'm still doing that thing where I'm not like embracing it, because the word cringe is thrown around a lot these days, and I'm just like,
they're cringe for saying it.
Yeah, I'm 37. Like, I'm allowed to be cringe at this point,
Literally.
if that's what you want to call it. Like, I'm living I'm walking my path, whatever. But beyond that, like I don't know. Yeah, it's a very personal thing for me. I'm doing the Two Spirit, the Pride potluck for the Métis community in Victoria in July. So I do like to do the odd panel discussion, performance and stuff for the community, and share stories and get teachings from the Victoria Métis community. But a lot of my connection to my culture has become kind of a personal practice too. Yeah. Just finding that the safety and the peace in the land and nature, and just keeping those philosophies like at the core of my my moral kind of standing is you know.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's all a personal journey, right? Because like we had this conversation, or sorry, you weren't on my part of the panel the other night, about there's no right way to be Native. There's no right way to be Two-Spirit. Like we lost so much knowledge during colonialism. We had fragments and we're piecing it back together to create the current tapestry we have now. And I always get so angry when someone's like, well, you should be doing it like this. Once again, there's 600 and something different Indigenous tribes in here with, 16 different dialects? I forgot like how many. Don't quote me on that, whoever's watching at home.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So there's so many different ways across this great nation to be Indigenous that you can't pan-India it across the whole board and be like, oh, since we did this on the West Coast, this is how it's done on the East Coast. So it's all personal journey. Same with the smudging. I smudge at my place every like couple weeks, and they're like, well, why do you keep doing that? It's like, well, I don't know who's coming back in with me. Like, I don't know what's following me. It's like there's a lot of energies out there, and you subconsciously take it on you sometimes, you know?
Yep.
Just like intent. Let's talk about intent now. Sorry, I'm going a little tangent.
Do it, yeah.
But like, there's this Indigenous teaching that I followed since I was younger. My mother told me since I was a child that anything I do, especially if it's for someone else, to have good intent, because you're going to imbue that energy onto this task. So I always think about that if I'm like, this is a bad example, but I always think about when I'm wrapping gifts. Because I'm creating a gift for someone, I was like, okay, if I'm not in a good mood, I'm not going to do it, because I want them to open this gift and feel that excitement that I'm wrapping it for this person.
Yeah. No, I think that's really beautiful. It's just like training yourself to live more intentionally, which we are indoctrinated to go against because, you know, capitalism and colonialism and just sort of circling back to the individualistic part of it too, like even, just taking like, even separating Cree from Métis, like, because we're descended, you know, from Cree and French people, a lot of us, even within the Cree, like the huge Cree nation, there are so many different varying viewpoints and traditions and stuff, just like, and nuances in that, you know, region to region. Yeah. And then trying to separate, you know, colonization from something can really muddy stuff, because there's elders that will, you know, say you have to wear, you know, this gendered clothing if you're going to sit on this side. They're quoting, and they'll quote scripture, you know, and it's like, it's really hard because, you know, some of our elders are, you know, very enmeshed in that thinking in Christianity and colonialism, and it's just. True.
I have a conversation that I haven't had with a lot of people with this, because it's kind of, it's an unpopular opinion.
Me.
So
I'm ready to be canceled.
You're,
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you're of the age, and you've been entrenched in culture since you're younger. Same with I grew up very heavily with culture. And this is going with the words prayer and creator. Because when I was younger, creator was never a deity. And I feel like it's somehow morphed now into being a soul person, whereas creator when I was younger was just the earth, was just the energy. It's all us living together, and we never used prayer. It was always giving thanks. So I feel like that Christianity influence is getting a little too heavy now, and I don't like it, because these words are not what I ever had to associate with. And then when people say I'm going to give prayer, I'm like, but we're not, though. That's not our words.
Yes.
Why are we taking it in? Yeah.
That's a really good point. Yeah, words have a lot of meaning, and yeah, that kind of relates to kind of, I think, the difficulty we have to try to have conversations about these things, because we're not able to do it in our languages, and that you lose so much nuance. And then it's totally true. It becomes the words create the new iteration of the thing almost. Yeah.
It's wild, because like even when I Googled, well, I was having an argument with someone about creator. They're like, well, you know, you have Christian influences. It's like, well, it's like we have the creator, but it's not what you think. They Googled it, and the first thing was like creator similar to Christian's God. And I was like, that's the first description came. I was like, that's not it. I'm like, don't take your information from that. Yeah. And they're like, well, you say you give a prayer to creator, and I was like, oh, it's that language that's being taught, and I don't know if we took it on to simplify it for other people so they can understand it. But now I feel like it's being bastardized into this Christian influence, which I'm not a huge fan of.
Yeah, it's really tricky. It's really tricky because, people want a digestible, quick infographic of what do you do, what's the best thing to do, and that's just not able to be explained to get the actual essence across in that way. But that's how we are very much so as a society right now. We want that quick package thing, and English is really good for that. It's very succinct, and it's very binary, and it's very ready to get the job done the fastest way possible.
Black and white.
Get A to B, you know, and it's just not. It's not the way. That's why I ramble so much, you know. They say brevity is the soul of wit, so I'm not a comedian by any means. But I'm just trying to express myself in so many words. Yeah. So very many really words. Well.
Just going to get rid of prayer out of it.
Yeah.
I would say give thanks.
Give thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Give thanks. Yeah. I was thinking about this, sorry to loop back into it. There's a prayer, not a prayer, like we have a thanks that's very common in my language, and then it was translated. And not one bit of it mentioned like you're praying to another person. It was all like, let us live well together, let us live in harmony with ourselves, let us live with the earth and take what we need. And I was like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm not praying to someone to give me a good path.
I know. I remember my mom always kind of emphasizing the importance of the land and the animals, and that we're a part of that, and that we're not separate, we're not above that, we're not, you know, so that kind of idea is definitely more how I approach it. That where I find my comfort and my serenity and stuff is realizing that I'm a part of something so much bigger and equal.
Yeah.
To, you know, and that's
balance.
all, you know, and that's really scary for some people. Like, we're in a very individualistic society.
Yes.
Like, so that's actually just, I think people just completely, like, they can't wrap their minds around that fact. They're like, I'm obviously more important than a dog, or like a, you know, a freaking raccoon or whatever who's eating my garbage. And it's like, well, like, no.
There's a circle of life. What's going to happen if that raccoon's not there?
We're already seeing it.
Yeah.
The world is on fire.
Yeah, literally, animals are going extinct.
Yeah. So.
It's true, like we are individualistic. We got to think more communally, think more energy-wise, and that when you think of spirituality, and once another word that I hate when people will be like, well, it's the same as religion. Be like, well, no. I was like, one's more like religion, circle of life, balance. Like we need to make sure that our life's a balance so that we can help someone else. And then I talked about this with someone about energy as well. I was like, well, my energy eventually when I die, unless I'm pumped full of formaldehyde, would feed the earth, and then the worms would take that and it would build a plant, and something will eat the plant, and then something will eat that, and it's just like a circle. And they're like, well, you're going to be filled with formaldehyde. Like, once again, you didn't hear a thing that I said.
Yeah. Or I love the ones where it's like, some of those people are like, when they dig your bones up in 100 years. I hear that trans argument.
Oh, yeah.
They'll know. And it's like, okay, I'll be dead. Like, who cares?
Yeah,
and like,
exactly.
Probably not even too, because archaeology doesn't even work that way. Like, they look at the whole. Anyway, yeah.
Exactly. Look at how you died, where you're laying, what's laid out, the artwork we had at that time.
Yeah. The clothes so associated with it.
They're not going to tell if you're a boy or a girl. Like, well, they can.
It's just that rigid thinking, that kind of like, no, this is the way it is for everything. Yeah. I'm tired of it. I'm over it.
Yeah. So tired. And let's talk about getting tired as well, because sometimes you can have mental fatigue, like having the same conversations with people, especially when it's unprovoked. It's one reason why I love panels. It's because people there specifically learn. You're up there, you can chat, and then you can vet out the questions that you want to answer. Yeah. And on that, are you a fan of panels?
I love them. Yeah. I loved what we did at the Two Spirit Showcase, kind of panel adjacent interviews. I always learn something. I feel so inspired after. Yeah, I do. I can do my own one-on-one interviews because I blab forever, but I love, going off of what somebody else is saying or putting something in my back pocket for later. It's really helped me feel more connected. Especially, speaking as a united front to a group of people who want to learn. I recently did one with the Indigenous Perspective Society in Victoria. We had a Two Spirit elder, and we had a fellow drag performer, Shalita Enlighten, from the Namgis Nation. And hearing their stories, it's just so, and you feel, I feel more confident in addressing a group of people that way because, we are all sharing similar things. But we came to them in such different ways. We came to these conclusions in such different ways. And so seeing that and that exchange with people who are curious is like, that really feeds me. Yeah.
I agree with that. Do you think that it can stem from, how Indigenous cultures are very oral? Do you think it's like our instinct or just our natural way of learning from our ancestors that we're hearing other stories? Like, this is why we connect more with it. 'Cause it's not written on paper.
That feels like it to me.
In my mind, some speaking through us again. I also love panels as well. Listen to other people because once again we are very oral people. That you listen to someone else, the way they talk, the way they say things kind of inspires you, or you hear something, like you said, put in your back pocket for later. I love panels. I love listening to Indigenous people talk. I feel like it's just eye-opening.
Yeah, I feel at peace. And I've lost a lot of, not a lot, but a few family members that I was very close to. And so, yeah, sometimes when they're speaking about that, I'm just reminded of the cadence and the subject matter that I would hear like my grandmother talking about and stuff. And so there's just some kind of, even if we're not directly related, just some kind of kinship there. And there's not a lot of that just in the general population that I can find otherwise that like hits that mark for me. And the bonus of being able to do it to help further empathy and understanding in other people that, in other communities is like how lucky am I to be a part of some of those. It's so cool.
It is so cool. I love that. Now I'm going to pivot the conversation a little bit back to performance because that's how you know you're from. Do you feel that now with the hyper resurgence of people trying to make sure that their cast is more diverse, that you get tokenized sometimes for being an Indigenous performer?
Yeah, it has happened. I've been doing drag, like I said, or performing in general since about 2005. So yeah, things have changed a lot around me. And I think it took me a while to realize that was happening a little bit because I'm just like, hey, people are hiring me just because they like my content or this and that. And yes, it was pointed out to me by somebody at one point that like, this might be what's happening, or they might be using you to get away with blah, blah, blah more. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that was very affronting to me. I just never thought somebody would do that, especially considering I'm white passing. Like it's not, but I also do infuse a lot of my culture into my art and do a lot of educating within it. So yeah, no, that was very jarring to hear. I did not like that at all. And then I also didn't, it's so tricky because we all want to make money at it. We all want to, we all want a piece of that. Like the drag scene has turned from a community to more of an industry, in my opinion, over the last 10 years or so. Yeah, and we all want, a piece of that. But then when you're trying to commodify your marginalization, that's when I get freaked out because I'm like, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
I always tell people that if I see the cast and it's all white and I'm only the person of color, I was like, well, my fee went up because now I'm tokenized. Yeah. Like, if I'm going to be that, you're going to pay me more. But yeah, you're right about the drag scene changing because when I started, it was for the love of drag. There was no money in it. There was like maybe the odds and ends you can bid that you can make, but it was always, you're always in the red because you're always spending more than you're making. And now when you talk to new drag artists, a lot of them, there's a few that love it for the art, they instantly like, oh, when can I start getting paid and I want to become famous? There's nothing about the community aspect of it. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. There's a lack thereof.
Taken a back seat.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a shame because, when I start to think about the money side of things, and be like, hey, maybe I want that and I want to go money first, then I completely, it changes my art. I'm not doing it to express myself and to find connection or like any of the original reasons. It's like, what do I think the audience wants to see? What's going to get me more gigs? And then we end up with a bunch of clones because trends and, Hi, clones. No, I don't know what were you going to do?
No, because I'm that person. Hi. But no, it's so true because this is why I love doing these Two Spirit shows. Like I do an Indigenous Proud one. It's something where I can really dip into culture, or I can have more connection with my culturally artsy side. Whereas a lot of performances, like if I'm doing a brunch, I do one every week. It's paint by numbers now. It's like, I know what these middle class white cis women want.
Yes, I mean, there's one of my friends said there's business drag and there's pleasure drag, and I was like, that's a really nice way of reframing that actually, because I think we should be paid for sure. I just think once it's, I think money ruins everything once it's the main focus. So got to find that balance because it's evolving. Crazy times.
It's true. Like, how do we navigate that, right? But we will.
Gently.
Well, the thing is, like, since we're long in the tooth, what a phrase that once again kids don't know.
I know.
But once we're long in the tooth, I think we've solidified ourselves in a certain position where we'll be fine.
Sure. I know. I'm like, I'm existing out of spite at some points. I'm still here.
Exactly.
The younger ones are like, oh, it's nice to have a BIPOC elder, and I'm like, what? Okay, I guess, but I'm like, I've been here before you guys. I'll be here after.
Exactly.
The cockroach of the Victoria drag scene.
Literally.
Yeah.
It was called that as well. They're like, Ella's not going anywhere.
Oh.
I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
For one, like, what other talents do I have?
We're resilient. We're resilient people. Okay.
It's a better word.
We've been here the whole time.
Amazing. I'm quite excited because I'm going to see you in Victoria in a few weeks, and I actually really love Victoria. I went to school there when I was younger, and I love the art scene. I thought it was fantastic because you had so many like street festivals. I don't know if you still do.
Not as many, but
where people would just have their art on the streets.
Yeah,
It was like
the markets are coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was just so neat. I also find that. No, I'm not going to talk about the Victoria scene. Go to Victoria. Enjoy their scene. They're fantastic. There's some really strong, amazing artists, such as Eddi there. But
lots of good stuff happening.
I find with myself, since I am an Indigenous person in Kelowna, where it's predominantly white, I don't know the same with Victoria. I'm one of the only, if the only person of color right now or visually person of color that's performing. There's a couple that are Métis and they're white passing, which
Yeah, it's its own thing. I get it. Like I get my experience is different from a visibly POC person. Absolutely. And that's.
But I feel like it lets me get away with a lot more things that other people wouldn't get away with. And I realize this, and I'm like, is this a superpower that I can do for good?
Yeah. I mean, remember, back to intent. Yeah. I think you have good intentions, and you should use your powers. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I'm going to push boundaries as far as I can.
Yeah.
And then if they say something, it's like, oh my God, why are you being so racist?
Yeah,
I'm going to victimize my color. Just kidding, I'm not going to do that. Can you imagine pushing so far until you get flashback? You'd be like, oh, how dare. Actually, I shouldn't say it. There's so many drag performers I know that do that.
No, naming names. We're,
never naming names.
Yeah.
But I'll make a post on my social media with the person with me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
You watch for the subtle signs.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing. Well, Eddi, do you have any final things that you'd love to let us know about yourself and your fantastic journey of this amazingness?
Oh, geez. I'm just still figuring things out, and I'm having a great time these days. And I'm just so grateful for the awesome messages I get and the reshares and the notes of support and love. I'm shocked at this point in my life that I'm still doing this and having the best time that I've had so far right now, I would say. I didn't even think I would, make it this far in life, let alone being a, growing member of the community and now a bit more of an educator and a leader. Thanks to everybody who's helped me along the way, and really appreciate you, and thanks for having me on this podcast.
Thank you.
Follow me on Instagram.
Follow, yeah. Give them your socials.
That's it. Let's chat. Yeah.
Give me your socials.
I'm Eddi.Licious on Instagram. Yeah. And I don't really do TikTok, but I'm trying to be better because,
TikTok's so hard. We're of that generation where it's just hard.
So much work, you guys. I don't know how you do it.
That editing and the continuousness on it.
No,
so much.
There's somebody out there that wants to help me with that all,
Yeah, reach out if you want to help them. But we're not leaving it because I thought of something while you're talking about that with mentorship. You didn't think you're going to be a mentor. Mm-hmm. That was not something that was on your scope. Mm-hmm. So that's the same with myself. Never wanted to be this because I was like, who wants to follow this? But then indirectly, I became that. Yeah. Did you once you realize that you are now this vision that you probably wish you saw when you're younger, and now you have to hold the mantle? How's that feel?
It feels, terrifying sometimes, because sometimes I'm like, don't follow me. I'm lost too. I'm just figuring it out. But no, I actually love it. I feel like, I'm not a perfect person by any means, but I think that that's representation matters. And I think that I do have a lot of wisdom to impart and insight and stuff, especially about specific things that are kind of unique to our drag scene, our performance scene, and being like a queer Indigenous person. Somebody who knew who they were from very young. I feel just really grateful. I don't even know what else to say. It's not something I've pushed to do. It feels really natural and really lovely. And as soon as if I can manage to keep the pressure off myself of being that perfect person, it's all good. Yeah, it's great. I'm very happy.
I agree with that. At first I was like, ooh, but then I was like, you know what? Representation matters, right? If I became that person for someone that I wish I saw, I was like, I'm gonna be true to it, and I'm truthful with them. It's like I'm not exactly the best example with some things. It's like, but I can show you how I've overcame those and how we can grow together. Yeah,
that's the important part.
Exactly. Well, Eddi, thank you so much for being here. I think you're such an amazing, awesome, fantastic human being. You're a ray of light in the world that can look dull and white.
Thanks so much, Ella. It's so mutual, and I'm so distracted by your beautiful glittery eyes. So,
Yeah.
you know.
It's diversions.
Yeah. Gorgina.
Amazing. Thank you so much. If you want to follow Eddi, once again, their Instagram is at eddi.licious. Make sure to follow them. They're flipping amazing. And we'll see you again. Bye.